This is Introduction to ACES, Part 3. In this lesson, we are going to talk about the E in ACES, which stands for elaborate. Again, another reminder, if you want to ace your assignments, write with ACES in mind. The A stands for make clear assertions. The C stands for cite specific evidence. The E, which we'll talk about today, stands for elaborate on your evidence. And then finally, the S stands for summarize your main idea. In today's lessons, we're going to talk about E, elaborate on your evidence. And that basically means explain how your evidence supports your assertion. The simplest way to elaborate on your evidence is by answering two questions. Number one, what does your evidence literally mean? And number two, exactly how does the literal meaning apply to the point you are trying to make? So, let's take a look again at Yosobuson's The Light of a Candle. Remember our question, how does The Light of a Candle, a haiku poem by Yosobuson, use candles to describe human connection? And if you remember, we had a very specific assertion. In the haiku, The Light of a Candle, Yosobuson uses candles to show how human connections everywhere can be strengthened by the small deeds of individual people. And then for our citation, we said, Buson says that all it takes is one candle to light one other candle, and soon many lights will make spring twilight. Okay, so this is all work that we've already done, and I'm just going to make a little bit of room on our slide here so that we can add our new work. Okay, there we go. There's our question, our assertion, and our citation. Now, the first question we're going to ask is, what does your evidence literally mean? So you don't have to worry here about having a super strong opinion or a super intelligent or insightful interpretation. We're talking about answering the question, what does it literally mean? Very straightforward. What our citation literally means is, if light is spread from one candle to another over and over again, there will eventually be so many lit candles that their individual lights, seen together, will look like stars in the night sky. That is a literal translation of our evidence. And now we get to answer the second question, and this is where you get to shine. Here's the second question. Exactly how does the literal meaning apply to the point that you're trying to make? So here's the point that we're trying to make. Human connections everywhere can be strengthened by the small deeds of individual people. Here is the evidence that we're using to prove that. And this is the literal translation of our evidence. This is exactly what the evidence means. Okay, and now we get to say, how does that literal meaning, how does that evidence prove the point we're trying to make? Just like candles, if many individual people share meaningful connections with just one other person, human connections would gain strength and stretch across the world. Can you see how we have taken keywords from our own assertion and used them to prove our assertion by connecting them to, just like candles, in our citation? And then together they look like stars in the night, connects with they gain strength and stretch across the world, how everything starts to make sense. We've done enough work with this now that it might help to look at it more like a paragraph. So there's our question, and let's read our paragraph that we've written so far. In the haiku, The Light of a Candle, Yosobuson uses candles to show how human connections everywhere can be strengthened by the small deeds of individual people. Busan says that all it takes is one candle to light one other candle, and soon many lights will make spring twilight. If light is spread from one candle to another over and over again, there will eventually be so many lit candles that their individual lights, seen together, will look like stars in the night sky. Just like candles, if many individual people share meaningful connections with just one other person, human connections would gain strength and stretch across the world. We have made a very clear assertion. We have cited specific evidence to support our assertion, and then we have elaborated on that evidence by saying first what exactly the evidence means, and then how that evidence helps to prove our assertion. Remember, everything always goes back to the thing you're trying to prove, which is right up here. And that's pretty much it. We've learned to elaborate on your evidence. We explain how the evidence supports your assertion. Now, one more thing before we go. Let's take a look at the fox and the grapes. Remember, this was our writing prompt. What is the overall purpose and message of Aesop's The Fox and the Grapes? Well, first we made an assertion. The overall message of Aesop's The Fox and the Grapes tells us that people who think good things can't be theirs will often pretend that the good things aren't actually good. And then we cited some specific evidence. In the first paragraph, the fox sees a beautiful bunch of ripe grapes, but in the fourth paragraph, the fox calls the same grapes a bunch of sour grapes that are not worth gaping for. Now we need to answer the question, what does our evidence literally mean? When the fox first thought the grapes would be easy to reach and enjoy, he admitted that they were going to be juicy and delicious. But his perception became negative when he realized that he could not have them. So just imagine that you gave someone this evidence right here, and they said to you, what does that mean? That is all we're answering with this question. What does the evidence literally mean? And now we get to answer the question, exactly how does that literal meaning apply to the point that you're trying to make? Remember, this is the point that we're trying to make up here. How does this evidence, which we have just described, the evidence means this, how do these things apply to the point we're trying to make? In the same way, people who believe that a desire of their heart is not achievable will often try to convince themselves that it was never a desire in the first place. So up here we have, our assertion, we have our evidence, we have the literal meaning of our evidence, and then right here, this is almost the most important thing we've said so far. This is why our evidence makes sense, right? This tells us exactly how our evidence proves our point. And that's it. The next thing we're going to do is learn how to summarize our main idea, and we'll do that in the next lesson. For now, you are amazing. Well done, you.